Okay. All right, cut the bottom out. You don't want to cut too much, just enough, obviously, so you can get your hand in there and clean it out. We like to use these knives. They're not sharp at all, but they have like kind of a serrated edge. It makes it very easy to cut. It's kind of like a sawing action. It doesn't have to be perfect, just enough so you can get your arm in, because you're gonna get rid of that bottom anyway. And I cut like a little hole so I can get my finger in there and pull it out.
Look at that. All right, what's this process from here?
So the process from here is, I might have to switch with it because I'm left-handed.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm right-handed and left-handed, but I do this part left-handed. So we just use a scoop. Again, it's not sharp, but it does have little serrated edges. We have these at the market. And you just sort of just keep scraping. And initially, you just want to get all the loose stuff out of there. So you just kind of go in. It's all attached to the side of the pumpkin. This one's a big one, so it's got quite a bit of stuff in there.
So what is all this goop?
Well, that's just the rind and the skin and the seeds and the guts that support the pumpkin's main function, which is to create a viable seed so it'll grow another fruit next year.
So in the wild, as it were, so this pumpkin would live, and then it would die, and then it would decompose, and all the seeds in there have enough food to eat.
Yeah.
Is really what this
So
is.
hopefully it has a good growing season. The seed is nice and plump and has good energy for it if it does get buried to produce a plant next year. And you just go in and you just kind of clean the skin and make it so there's not a lot of the stringy stuff left over. Just kind of paw it out. And my wife likes to etch, which takes the skin off, but you leave some skin. So sometimes it takes a little more work to get the skin a little thinner so that the light can kind of shine through that skin.
It's a great sign.
That is. And still to this day, when I smell the inside of a pumpkin, I brought back to when I was a little kid carving pumpkins. One of my favorite smells is a real candle inside of a pumpkin. That's just brings back great memories.
So we talked a little bit about it at the farm, but what makes it a good pumpkin for carving?
Well, like we said, nice thick skin, nice dark orange. Obviously, that makes it more attractive. But a nice thick skin, so it'll hold up for 3 or 4 or 5 days after you've carved it. And then a lot of it's up to you. Sometimes people want the perfect pumpkin. Other people like ugly ones, depending on what suits their personality and what they want to carve.
Look at that, and it stays flat.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, what's the next step?
Well, the next step is basically to carve, and I usually just dive right in. Some people, my wife likes to draw things on the pumpkin and kind of plan it out, but I just carve and it just sort of works out, hopefully.
All right, let's do it.
As we carve. So another weird thing, I gut with my left, but I carve with my right.
Okay. But you got it, see, but it's okay though, because you have a process and it works.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
yeah.
you're not just winging this.
No, I've probably carved over 10,000 pumpkins in my life.
That's a lot of pumpkins.
That is a lot of pumpkins.
All right, man, let's do it.
All right, I usually start with the eyes. I'm not sure why, but that's generally what I do.
Yeah.
So let's see, I'm trying to figure out, do we want a scary? Let's do sort of a scary face, I guess.
Right.
Kind of make the features kind of big, because we do have a big pumpkin here. like to take the pieces out as we go along.
Right.
And I never got in the habit of drawing because we have so many pumpkins to carve
Right.
that for me it just takes too long to do that.
Mhm.
But I would suggest for anybody that's hasn't carved as much as we have to draw it out, and then you get an idea of your negative space and your positive space and all that.
So you said
Expressive.
did you go to college for art school?
No, I went to college for phys ed and exercise physiology.
That's it.
No, I've just been carving since I was 5, so it was out of necessity. We always needed to have pumpkins carved, so
Right.
that was one of my first jobs sort of growing up, so I just got to be okay at it. I'm proficient at it.
Exactly.
Not really an artist, I can just carve a lot of pumpkins. A lot of halfway decent pumpkins.
You're a craftsman.
Yeah,
That's what
right,
you are.
that's
man.
right, that's right.
I love the poke and pull technique.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah. And I don't really worry too much about symmetry because to me it sometimes looks better if it's not totally
Right.
perfect. So
Exactly.
that's my justification for not having perfectly proportioned eyes.
Works for me.
And then I do like to sometimes go back and kind of trim. Sometimes I'll use a paring knife just to go back and kind of trim, just to kind of open it up just a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and just to kind of clean it up. And then I generally do a small nose because I like to have leave room for a big mouth, so I usually just do 2 little holes, at least for me anyway. Sometimes I'll do a little different nose, but today I'll just do a couple of little nostrils here.
Oh, and that's a slick move right there. You just turn the knife.
Yeah, and the knife is tapered, so if you don't want a real big hole, you just kind of go part of the way in. Okay,
Perfect.
clean them up a little bit. There's that. So I'm going to start from this side and do like a big jagged mouth. Now the one secret for making it last a little bit longer is I like to connect a few of the teeth, and so that sort of gives the pumpkin a little more structure. So I'll do like a real big mouth, start way back here.
So we've mentioned a couple times about how long these last. So when you put them in the teepee, how long do they usually last?
Generally they'll last 3 to 5 days, depending on how warm it is. We had a week in the middle of September where it was really hot, and I think the pumpkins lasted between 2 and 3 days. It was a little rough. And sometimes if it's cool, up to 7 days, but usually no longer than that. So it's a constant restocking and taking them out and putting new ones in and getting them cleaned out and gutted and carved. So it's sort of we're always carving. And
That to me was the amazing part because, I mean, I know when you go in there, you're not going to have picture perfect memory about what pumpkin was in there or not.
yeah,
But it's pretty amazing because that you have to carve that many to keep them good.
well, in a way it's kind of cool too because every time you go in there, you know it's probably going to be something a little different too.
Yeah.
Try not to take too big of a piece out at once, 'cause sometimes you'll pull out a tooth or something,
Right.
depending on how delicate your design is.
Don't want to pull out a tooth.
No, definitely don't want. Got enough dental bills.
Oh, look at that. He's coming along.
So he's starting to take shape here, and he's a fairly simple one, but
Yeah.
and again I'm never really too worried about the symmetry of the teeth and everything else. I think it looks better if they're sort of random. And I'll show you here just for a second. I've connected these teeth. On this side, I've connected the teeth here. So that way, if you don't connect it, the pumpkin's pretty heavy and it'll kind of squish.
Right.
But this gives it a little bit of support, so it'll definitely last quite a bit longer that way.
Nice.
And I'll connect another set of teeth on the other side to give them a little support. So always keep that in mind too. If you're going to have a lot of negative space, try to find some way to make even just a small connection to give the pumpkin a little bit of structure. Make some teeth a little bigger here. Let's see. Got lost for a second. I want to cut the wrong way.
That would have been bad. Oh no.
Be embarrassing.
Where are we gonna get more pumpkins? Oh, nice. Now I'm seeing it.
This tooth will be connected as well. Give him a little support on this side. Like I said, he's a pretty big, heavy pumpkin, so he needs that extra.
So how much do these pumpkins usually weigh when, you know, like a couple ones like these, how much do you think these weigh?
I think these were probably 30 pounds plus.
That's a big pumpkin.
Yeah, and like I said, that this variety generally doesn't get that big, but the growing conditions that we had and actually that we created with our ability to irrigate gave us a beautiful crop this year. Couple more teeth.
You must have some serious calluses, man.
Yeah. My kids always joke about my hands, my leather hands.
Now, it's not just for pumpkin carving.
It's from everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do so many different things here that it, you know, farming in general is like that anyway, but especially this time of year.
I was going to say, what is the life of a farmer like in the winter?
Well, you know, it's interesting. Every farmer really has another job to support their farm income. And our other job is the farm market. And it just so happens that the farm and the market have their two busiest seasons right on top of each other.
Right.
Plus we do hay rides and everything else, which takes a ton of time. So in the wintertime, we're trying to catch up on everything that we just didn't have time to do in the summer.
Right.
Just basic property and machine maintenance, catching up, honestly, frankly, with stuff at home, and everything else that goes along with you know, running the farm and the business and everything else. So
And living a life.
yeah.
Look at that. That's a big mouth on this guy.
We can go back and clean it up a little bit, but that's the general idea.
That's it.
And then, if anybody has a cell phone handy, light him up, just to see how he looks.
I'd say he looks great.
And we can even go put him in the teepees and check it out in the dark and see what he looks like.
Oh, sweet. That'd be awesome. All right.